So it's late November 2013, and I'm on a tiny boat in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. 4 days ago, I discovered I would be having to survive without internet for a whole week. Now, though, I had different things to worry about. We're plowing through 3-meter high swells, making it impossible to take measurements, and what's worse, impossible to keep your stomach under control. I could have been having a movie night with friends right now, but no, I decided to drop out of university and social life to spend 4 consecutive days with my head permanently hanging over a boat's railing. And while I was looking down at the water surface, I wondered, what on earth am I doing here? Well, there is something in the ocean which clearly doesn't belong there, and it's called plastic. Right now, millions of tons of plastic have been accumulated in the ocean, primarily in 5 areas called garbage patches. The largest one is the infamous Great Pacific Garbage Patch, halfway between here and Hawaii. And let me just illustrate the scale of this problem to you in 3 numbers. So first of all, there's 100, which is the current number of species that could go extinct because of plastic pollution. Then there's 13 billion, which is in US dollars the amount of damage done by this plastic every single year. And then there is 1 million, which is the number of times the concentration of toxic chemicals increases when absorbing onto the plastic. And that is a problem because then these plastic pieces get ingested. They then end up in the food chain, and that's a food chain that includes us humans as well. And my first encounter with plastic pollution was a few years ago when, while diving in Greece, I came across more plastic bags than fish. So I wondered, why can't we just clean this up? Just imagine the oceans clean again. What if there would be a way to get all that plastic back out of the ocean again? Wouldn't that be great? So then I quickly realized that the ocean is actually quite big. It's really, really big. So if you were to go out with like boats and nets, it would probably take about 79,000 years, we then calculated, and tens of billions of dollars to do so. So not such a practical idea. The plastic also moves, it doesn't stay in one spot. So then I wondered, why go after the plastic if the plastic can also come to you? Now, I envisioned a network of extremely long floating barriers which, attached to the seabed, enables the plastic to concentrate itself. And because the array is positioned in a V shape, the plastic moves towards the center, thereby becoming increasingly more concentrated. And that's where we can then physically extract the plastic and store it before shipping it to land for recycling. And then we calculated that with 100 kilometers of such systems, deployed for 10 years, we can clean up about half this Great Pacific Garbage Patch. An elegant idea. Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. So yeah, an elegant idea if I say so myself. But could it actually be done? Well, I really thought there was really only one way to find out, to actually go and do it. So I then founded the Ocean Cleanup and embarked on a mission to make that dream a reality. But if you want to solve any problem, of course, it's first really important to understand the problem. And the thing is that only recently, some people told us there was like tens of thousands of tons of plastic in the ocean. Other people told us there was tens of millions of tons of plastic in the ocean. So that's quite a discrepancy there. So, and it's really kind of important for us, because if there would be, say, 10 times more plastic, the cost per ton to get the plastic out would basically be divided by 10. And also it would change the design a bit, etc. So it's quite important. So to solve this is what we came up with. So we called this the Mega Expedition. We took a fleet of 30 vessels, and were able to take more measurements in 3 weeks than in the preceding 40 years combined. And here's some footage of the mothership of that fleet, here leaving San Francisco. And now the thing is, researchers have been taking measurements for decades already on this plastic, but they always use these very tiny nets. So that you can actually see that here. They're great for the small pieces, but the big stuff doesn't really fit in there. So that's why we deployed these quite massive nets as well, sort of fishing for plastic. And that worked quite well. So you see plastic there, plastic, that's plastic, 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 plastic. And now it turns out that actually just like 2% of the plastic is those small pieces. Actually, most of it is the big stuff. You see that shipping container there? We calculated that will be enough for a month at sea. It got filled after 4 days. And then right at the end, you saw those, those big fishing nets. And we actually came across quite a few of those. So much that we thought, well, this could actually be a big proportion of this garbage patch. But not enough to really get good data on. To get good data on that, we needed to cover an even larger area. And then we thought, well, we just crossed the ocean with 30 boats. How can you cover an even larger area? So then we thought, well, normally, if you want to travel a large distance, you jump on an airplane, right? So then we got ourselves an own airplane. So we called it Ocean Force One. This was sort of during the height of the election in the US, so we thought that would be sort of the closest we could get to making a non-political reference to that. And we fitted it with the most advanced sensors in the world. So we had this LiDAR system, we had an infrared system. And now normally you'd get like an airplane which is especially designed for that purpose. So it has like a hole on the floor where you can fit these sensors on. But our airplane didn't have any hole in the floor. So we then first asked, well, can we cut a hole in the floor of your airplane? And unfortunately, they didn't allow us to do so. So then we came up with this. So here's some footage. And of course, we flew with all the doors open. So this is right in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, and 1,000 miles offshore. And there goes the sensor array. Which was kind of scary because apparently those sensors were about 50 times more expensive than the airplane we discovered with the insurance papers. So it was just hanging there at the top of the ocean. And when they opened the doors, they were just expecting to see just a few pieces of plastic here and there. And then they just saw plastic everywhere. So it's really, really quite clear that there's just way more than what we thought was out there. And that sort of brings us now one step closer to starting the cleanup. And now with reconnaissance completed, we could then fully focus on the development of the technology itself. And obviously what we're trying to do here has never been done before. So over the past few years, we've been doing many tests to make sure that the device collects plastic efficiently and that it doesn't break in hurricane conditions. And this included the prototype you see behind me, which we successfully deployed last summer. So what's next? Well, last month, we started preparations for the deployment of the first operational cleanup system, the pilot, which is scheduled to be launched around the end of the year. It's a 2-kilometer device, and I really believe it's going to be a turning point for the project, because once you can see it working, once we've taken that first plastic back to land, then we can have access to the capital required to do that scale up. And now we're welcoming companies and individuals to join us to make this first ocean cleanup system a reality. With your help, 2017 will mark the year we aren't only putting plastic in the ocean, we're also taking it back out again. Thank you.